Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to you all for Art at the Embassies, Vienna, presented by Abu Dhabi Festival in collaboration with the United Arab Emirates Embassy to Austria. My name is Noor Kanoo. I'm a filmmaker, but today I'm your moderator. We're delighted to be gathered here in Vienna, a city whose musical legacy has shaped cultures and inspired audiences across generations and across borders. I'd like to first start by extending my sincere thanks to the Embassy of the United Arab Emirates to Austria for hosting us this evening, and to Abu Dhabi Music and Arts Foundation for bringing this important conversation to Vienna. I'd like to start by inviting Sheikha Al-Kaabi, Charge d'Affaires of the Embassy of the UAE, for her opening remarks. Sheikha.
Your Excellency Huda Al-Khamis Kanoo, founder of Abu Dhabi Music and Arts Foundation, founder and artistic director of Abu Dhabi Festival, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great pleasure to welcome you to Art at the Embassies, a cultural diplomacy initiative organized by the Abu Dhabi Music, Art and Arts Foundation in partnership with the United Arab Emirates Embassy in Austria. This initiative is presented as part of the Abu Dhabi Festival Abroad program, under the patronage of His Highness Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan, Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs. Following the successful edition in London, Paris, Osaka, Washington, New York, Seoul, and Beirut, the initiative arrives today in Vienna as a testament to our shared commitment to strengthen cooperation and cultural dialogue between Emirati artists and the wider world. This evening, we are delighted to welcome Mr. Michael Bladerer, Managing Director of the Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra, Mr. Yamen Saadi, Concertmaster of the Vienna Philharmonic and the Vienna State Opera Orchestra, and Maestro Toufic Maatouk, joined in conversation by filmmaker Noor Kanoo. Together, they will share insights and experiences in preserving and celebrating musical traditions. Before we continue, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to Her Excellency Huda Al-Khamis Kanoo for her vision, leadership, and unwavering commitment to advancing international cultural dialogue. I would also like to thank all our distinguished guests and friends for joining us this evening and for contributing to the spirit of exchange, understanding, and friendship that brings us together today. It is now my great pleasure to invite Her Excellency Huda Al-Khamis Kanoo to join us on the stage and share her remarks. Thank you.
Wow, how wonderful to be here. And let me put my glasses. Now I can see you. Especially my daughter, where is she? Assalamu alaikum. Good evening. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and dear friends. It's a true pleasure to bring Art at the Embassy to Vienna, a city that has spoken to the world in the language of music for centuries. Tonight, we are hosted by the Embassy of the United Arab Emirates under the patronage of His Highness Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan, UAE Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs, and founding honorary patron of Abu Dhabi Festival. Allow me at the outset to express my heartfelt thanks to Sheikha Al-Kaabi and the team for their warm welcome, and to our partners at the Vienna Philharmonic, an institution that is not only synonymous with artistic excellence, but also, quite simply, a true pleasure to work with. Thank you. Art at Embassies is an Abu Dhabi, of course, as Sheikha mentioned, Abu Dhabi Music and Arts Foundation program that places culture at the heart of diplomacy. Diplomacy is where conversations between states happen, and we all know that. Culture is where conversation between hearts happen in the universal language of beauty, emotion, and empathy. Music is wordless, borderless, and speaks directly to our soul. It plays a vital role in building such bridges. We could not have chosen a better stage for tonight's conversation than Vienna. The Austrian capital has been for centuries a meeting point of peoples, languages, and civilizations. A city where the East and the West have always found each other in concert halls, in salons, in cafes, and tonight, that long tradition continues in the House of the Emirates. I'm delighted to welcome our distinguished panel. Managing Director of the Vienna Philharmonic, Michael Bladerer, carries the mission of one of the world's most beloved orchestras. In his daily work, he's both a witness to and practitioner of music's ability to connect peoples beyond language and nationalities. Thank you, Michael. Abu Dhabi Festival is proud to join the Vienna Philharmonic for the glorious summer night concert for the first time on Friday. Do not miss it. Concertmaster of the Vienna Philharmonic and Vienna State Opera Orchestra, Yamen Saadi. Yamen Saadi was born in Nazareth and trained at the Barenboim Said Conservatory. Yamen, at 11 years old, he became a member of the West Eastern Diwan Orchestra. My dear Yamen, your own journey is a story of cultural diplomacy at work, showing that music is a passport in and of itself. No visas needed. Toufic, conductor, musicologist, academic, and advisor to Abu Dhabi Festival, Dr. Toufic Maatouk enjoys an international reputation in classical music. Guest conductor of the Lebanese Philharmonic and artistic director of the Beirut Chamber music season, he conducts major orchestras and choirs across the Middle East, Europe, and North America. This evening, he will tell us the story of East and West through his unique perspective, special perspective. And finally, the moderator, my daughter who's over there, building on conversations held last year in New York at the UAE Permanent Mission, the United Nations, and in Washington, D.C. at the UAE Embassy to the United States. Emirati, as Sheikha mentioned, Noor is an Emirati filmmaker, and she's also a moderator, I think by force, but thank you, Noor. This evening's discussion with her special trademark, curiosity and a bit of flair. You know, just over 200 years ago, in this very city, Beethoven gave the world his Ninth Symphony. Embedded in this masterpiece, embedded in his masterpiece, is the idea that all people might become brothers. The idea was powerful, even radical at that time. Today, this idea is more relevant than ever. Enjoy the conversation and thank you.
Tonight, we will explore how music functions as a form of cultural diplomacy, how orchestras foster cross-cultural understandings, and whether artistic collaboration can actually create forms of dialogue that politics alone sometimes cannot. And there is perhaps really no better place to explore that idea than Vienna, a city that has been exporting culture long before anyone thought of calling it a soft power. Or to put it another way, or in layman's terms as I like to call it, discussing classical music in Vienna feels a little like discussing football in Brazil during the World Cup. There is a certain expectation, everyone has an opinion, and most of the time people are experts. Speaking of experts, we're joined today by three fantastic panelists who've already been introduced, but we have Michael Bladerer, Yamen Saadi, and Maestro Toufic Maatouk. Thank you guys for being here today.
Thank you.
So let's get started. Diplomats spend years trying to get people to agree with one another, and yet musicians somehow manage to do it in under an hour, and usually without a single PowerPoint presentation slide, which is a feat in itself. Can music actually achieve what politics cannot? Toufic, I'm going to start with you. You're in the hot seat. We often hear that music is a universal language. From your experience across Europe and the Middle East, is that simply a beautiful idea, or does it have a genuine diplomatic power?
Thank you, Noor, for your question. I think music does not replace politics because music brings people together. We have musicians together, they play together. Music gives, I will say, room, space to be together. For that, it's important to mention that in this space, there is a big place for partnership. And this partnership is an artistic partnership because if there is four musicians playing together and there is no even partnership in between them, there is no music, there is no one sound coming together. For that, I would say this space that gives the music is more genuine and more real. For that, it's bringing a big power. And for that, maybe we can speak about soft power or others.
I have a question on that a little bit later. But I'll transition to Yamen just for a second, because on the topic of bringing people together and how music has that sort of ability to bring people together from all backgrounds, your musical journey is quite unique and in an international environment through the Western Eastern Divan Orchestra. Was there a moment when you realized that music could do more, sort of as Toufic is saying, that it could bridge people and cultures? And in a way, has it taught you anything about listening, but not just as a musician, as a citizen of the world?
So, first of all, very happy to be here. Thank you very much. And it's a very interesting question because through music, I got to actually, very obvious thing is I got to travel the world, met so many people on the way, and through the West Eastern Divan, met also people that maybe I would have surely not met, for travel restrictions, and so you could have not met some people, you know, and that was one thing that through music actually happened to me. But that's a very, very obvious thing, I would say. But what I learned through music was, and only through music this is achievable, in my opinion, because when we play all together in an orchestra, everyone is having a dialogue, right? But as equals. And this is something that's maybe in daily life, it's maybe not the same, or in any other art form. So when you basically, I give you an example, the first violins are playing, and then you have flute has a solo or something. So you really must make space for the flute so that you can hear it, and it's just you have to, and it's and at that point everyone becomes equal, and you can really have a true dialogue. And that's something that I wish society could have. Yeah.
That's fantastic, actually. I think we can all agree on that point, for sure. Michael, from the perspective of the Vienna Philharmonic, do you see, in a way, how Yamen was saying that the musicians have a way to connect with the music? Do you find that audiences connect differently with music around the world, or is the emotional response that you find truly universal?
Generally, yes, but there are a little bit differences. For example, in Austria, when we play in the Musikverein, our subscription audience is, I would say, a rather old one. When we play, for example, in China, the audience is much younger, and there are a lot of young parents, even with their small kids, because they have the philosophy that the kids, even maybe with 3 or 4 years old, that when they hear a concert that's good for their brain or good for their development, so somehow very refreshing. Yeah. But one thing that, because you asked Toufic about the kind of if music could change something. There was one situation, it was before when I joined the orchestra, end of the 80s. The Vienna Philharmonic played in East Berlin with Leonard Bernstein, Beethoven symphonies. And in that time, the regime there was very strict, and they had their system, and there were a lot of young people waiting outside the concert hall, but they could not join the concert because they could not get a ticket, or there was an issue. Yeah. And Bernstein, he was very open for everything. He saw that, and he said, I want these young people let into concert, otherwise I will not conduct. So the regime was somehow frightened, because they were not used that there were kind of opposition or kind of other
way of thinking.
Yes, other mindset. So, but they had to let the young people in, and you see, maybe also these are the little stones that can change something. And 3 years later, the regime was gone. So it can help, maybe, a little bit.
Of course, and I think that the more access that people have, the more ability you have to expand your horizons and understand something that you've never been exposed to. In a way, perhaps the exposing from a young age is really the way to foster lots of conversations. When you are working with the Vienna Philharmonic, is there a responsibility, like you mentioned in this story? Do you feel that there's responsibility to representing Vienna, Austria, and on the international stage? And I mean, do you think of diplomacy when you're doing those international engagements? How do you manage those expectations?
This is a mixture of everything, but the first thing is the reputation of the Vienna Philharmonic. When we play in a foreign country and we come on stage, I'm proud to represent my orchestra, and I will try to play my best to convince the audience. And there's a big history in the Vienna Philharmonic about traveling. And do we have 2 minutes for that?
Of course, please.
Because I would share something with you. First, it was very touching that Your Excellency, you said about Beethoven's 9th Symphony. I don't know if you know that this symphony was the reason why the Vienna Philharmonic was founded. Because at that time, more than 200 years ago in Vienna, there was no symphonic professional orchestra. And the performance was played by amateurs and also some people of the state opera, the court opera orchestra, how do we say. But the performance ended in a disaster because Beethoven was deaf. He was conducting himself, and the musicians were already, they finished, and Beethoven still conducted. He was not finished. So you can imagine, it was not probably the best performance ever, but there was a discussion starting after that. We need a professional symphonic orchestra. That was the origin why 18 years later we were founded, point one. Then, of course, we were an orchestra in a city. We are talking about middle of the 19th century. The orchestra was playing in Vienna. But in 1900, the orchestra played the first concert outside Austria, and that was in Paris. So that was maybe a kind of diplomatic mission, but they made a wonderful mistake for us, now very funny, because they forgot when they played in Vienna, everyone in Vienna knew that there's a concert and they didn't have to do anything about marketing or advertising. In Paris, nobody knew that they were playing, so there was no audience. They forgot completely to make announcements. So they calculated the money, the income from the concert for their train ticket back, but there was no income. So they were sitting in Paris and did not know how to go back. And Baron Rothschild, a very rich man, he saved them and paid them the train tickets. So there were management mistakes. But already in the 20s of the 20th century, like 100 years ago, the orchestra went to South America. There were two famous tours to South America. I have to say economic reasons after World War I, but they did it. And even in 1956, that is now 70 years ago, there was the first tour to Japan. That was kind of, adventure. At that time, I think they needed 4 or even 5 stops to go there because the planes, they could not go for such long distances. So traveling was much harder than today. And also in the 70s, they played in China and in Russia, in Moscow, in a time where it was not so common. So in a way, diplomacy, adventure or whatever, so there's a history in my orchestra to play in other countries, to build bridges, to connect people. And so I'm very happy that we now continue this adventure with the Abu Dhabi Festival.
That's a wonderful story. And it just reiterates so much how international dialogue is often so helpful, and kind of similar to our earlier point that exposure, no matter at what age and what environment, can create and foster so many fruitful memories, if not for anything else. Yamen, if we look at it from an individual perspective, so we've just talked about institution and orchestra, so sort of a bigger fish. When we think of an individual, and your background is sort of international, you've played all around the world as well, do you feel that musicians today carry a responsibility to serve as cultural ambassadors as well as the institution?
For sure, I think maybe I'll speak from my own perspective. I mean, my mother tongue is Arabic, so for me, coming from Nazareth, classical music was not the obvious choice. But nevertheless, really wanted it, fought for it, and had the great support through the years. But in any case, that was when playing somewhere or when thinking of future programs and so on. I'll give an example. I did arrangements, for instance, for an Arabic piece, but it's done in a classical way, and I think this is also an example of bridging, cultures. But for me, it's in my
inherent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not between people, but that's something for me. So, and I think I would like to represent that, and that's from my own perspective. Therefore, I think other musicians would probably think similar to that, and they would like to be. Represent their culture and so on. Yeah.
Of course. And Toufic, you've spent much of your career creating platforms for artists and for artist exchanges. And we won't hold Yamen to anything he's just said. But what qualities do you think are particularly effective when looking at cultural ambassadors?
I think the most important thing is to be open to learn. I'm coming from a country where there is no opera tradition, and in Lebanon, I lived half of my life in Italy. I was knowing nothing about opera, and I embraced everything. I didn't had fear to show that I don't know this, but I want to learn. I want to know. I want to know the tradition. How Rossini can be done by an Italian, how Puccini can be done by an Italian. And then it makes me what I am now, and I'm still learning and developing my conducting career in that way. To be that is people should not show their when they come to another tradition to show that they know everything. No, I know everything. No, I want to learn. I don't know this. I want to learn more. The most important thing, I think, ambassadors should be authentic and genuine. And that's what make people true and real, and no one know everything. But when you say that I don't know this thing, that you can prove that you are a human, and these humans are built on connections, and these connections make relationship what we are discussing tonight.
That's beautiful. Thank you. I'm going to stay with you for a moment, Toufic, because I think it's a really great segue. Similar to what you said, Yamen, about when you're working on repertoire and you're trying to connect cultures and you have your own backgrounds and things like that. Diversity is kind of a fun buzzword that we hear very often. Is diversity in classical music, Toufic, primarily about representation? Or is it more about expanding the stories that we're hearing and expanding those perspectives?
I think it's more about connecting with people. When you connect with people, you understand that these people has things that they know it, and think they don't know it. They don't know, maybe they have prejudices for you, they don't know you. So you start to create this connection. And through this, it's important to understand that things start with conversation. In the Abu Dhabi Festival, I remember first year I joined the festival, and we were celebrating 40 years of relationship between China and the UAE. And we were speaking with Her Excellency about her vision about this. It was not about negotiation, what politics do usually. The first thing starts with a conversation with the China National Symphony Orchestra. And the year after, with the New Japan Philharmonic Orchestra, it was a conversation about art, about artists. Who will bring to the stage of Abu Dhabi? Which artist? That it's coming from there. And this is very important for I think for festival, for institutions, and for musicians to show this kind of knowledge and conversation that would be reflected in diversity.
Thank you. I think that if you just look around the room, there's quite a lot of diversity just here today. So that tells you one thing, that dialogue continues, and the more stories we tell, the greater connected we can be. On the topic of expanding stories, Yamen, you have your debut album. It's being developed in collaboration with Abu Dhabi Festival. It is set to be released in the upcoming months, so hold your horses, but it's coming soon. What does it mean to you to have an institution like ADMAF's continued support and championing for a project like this?
First of all, I'm very thankful for the support. This means a lot, and for me, it's I was in Abu Dhabi for the first time ever. It was maybe 3 years ago. I think I played in the festival, and it was a really special moment for me because been around the world, but I wasn't in an Arab-speaking country where I played music. So this was actually, I was maybe played, my first concert was in Jordan, and that's it. Since then, I played more times in Tokyo than my hometown.
It's unbelievable.
So so this was for me personally a very special moment, and having the festival and ADMAF is something very, very important, I think, for the whole region, I think, and I'm very thankful for.
That's great. I hope your orchestra, the team, didn't kind of abuse you as the translator when you were in Abu Dhabi, because you were finally in the Arabic-speaking country. They were like, Yemen, we'll answer all the questions for everybody.
For the food, for food recommendations, they did.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Michael, I want to talk a little bit about sort of the perception of classical music and navigating sort of this global world that we're living in now. With major institutions like the Vienna Philharmonic, how do you navigate the balance between keeping tradition and preserving tradition, but yet also embracing more of a global future?
Oh, that's a long question.
Sorry,
maybe we could
little
talk,
tough one.
We could talk for some hours about it. I mean, when you have an institution that is already almost 200 years old, it's a kind of responsibility to keep the traditions. But life is going on. We are now in the 21st century. I give you one example. When I joined the orchestra, there was no internet. There was no social media. For example, when social media appeared, I remember the old colleagues, what is that, what we are talking about? And then they said, we need a person to manage that professional. Social media, What is today? Of course, we have one person for social media, and we are very successful. I think we have like 700,000 followers on Instagram, the Vienna Philharmonic. So life is going on, and even if you have a very traditionally beautiful institution, you need to go with the time. That's also in terms of music. When I joined the orchestra as a substitute in the first year, there was almost no music from the 20th century. Maybe in one or two concerts there were, but the earliest 20th century. Now, 20th century is almost the major part of our repertoire. When we play Shostakovich or Bartok or Stravinsky, whatever, it's completely normal. And this is to go with the time. At the other hand, we don't play so many first performances from the ultra-modern pieces. That we are a little bit more traditional than others, which is fine. So keep the balance. For some people will always be not enough, for the others will be too much. When I talk to our subscription goers, when you ask 20 people, you get 20 different suggestions. So at the end, I have to decide.
I think if you stick to what's true for you, then I think you'll always find the right balance of everything, right? Well, we're also here today to talk about cultural diplomacy within the guise of soft power. Everyone loves soft power as a term, and it's often used in discussions like these all around culture. Toufic, what role should institutions play in strengthening relationships between societies?
I'm not personally. I'm not the person that I'm really very fond of a soft power term as a term in culture. I will say, but culture because culture isn't a tool for political gain, because usually in music, it's not about what you get, but about what you share. Because in music we share, we don't get things. So we are in a city that proves this kind of things, because Vienna, being a great city, has absorbed a lot of civilizations. Ottoman, Mozart, in his music, a lot of musicians came in this city, and they absorbed all the civilization, Hungarian, Bohemian. So, for that, being open is very, very important. And Vienna Philharmonic, what we're doing this week as Abu Dhabi Festival with the Vienna Philharmonic, this is kind of what we're proving in that matter, that it's, I think maybe I saw Vienna Philharmonic on TV from being 4 or 5 years old, or the concert and things. And when I've been in the rehearsal with Michael, and we spoke a little bit about the possibility of what we will see on Friday, this partnership between the Abu Dhabi Festival and the Vienna Philharmonic, it's like a sort of dream. But this dream is coming from relationship. It's not coming from one event happening on Friday, and that's what the festival, Abu Dhabi Festival, do. It's building of relationship through years. This concert is bringing another concert later, and this another concert later is bringing another concert later, and that is the structure that the Abu Dhabi Festival created through Abu Dhabi Festival Abroad and Abu Dhabi Festival. And it's not only one-way exchange. It's through both exchange from two ways, with bringing a lot of Emirati artists abroad to give them the possibility to flourish and to extend to growth there. This is the power is here. The power for me, it's not in the gain. The power for me is in the relationship that can create all this magic.
Well said. I think, I mean, I agree with you most of the time. In this case, I still agree with you, but I also think that there's something so beautiful about soft power, and in part what you've said so artistically is the connection, right? But without impact, the connection is futile, because artists, as we all know, you put a bunch of artists in a room and they create stuff. Nobody talks about budget. Nobody says, how much do you need? How much am I gonna get paid? We just kind of make stuff, right? And I think the three of us here, if you left us to our own devices, which I'm sure they'll start waving me now and stop talking, Noor. But I think I circle back that soft power, what's so important with it is impact. And it's a perfect segue to what you were hinting at earlier, which is how Vienna has been this long crossroad of artistic and cultural exchange. And for those of you that don't know, I will tell you now, the Vienna Philharmonic Summer Nights concert is in 2 days, and it's presented in artistic partnership with Abu Dhabi Festival, as Toufic had mentioned. Michael, maybe you can tell us a little bit about how that partnership came about and how the impact sort of is going to unfold in a way.
That's the most beautiful question from tonight. When did we meet? Maybe two years now, but the first meeting was maybe 2 years ago. And I thought Toufic is a really competent, nice man. We will have a nice concert in Abu Dhabi. This felt right. Then you visit us 1 year ago in Vienna, or half a year ago, in November. And we went together to the concert house to a rehearsal, and Toufic joined me, and we were talking. And we were just in a desperate situation, because for this summer night concert, this is the only thing where we need money also from the state, because it's a huge event, open air, and the costs for many reasons are enormous. The security, the stage, the light, the sound system. This is more than one orchestra can really take on its shoulders. And it should be free. We don't ask for any for an entrance fee from the people. The idea of the concert was we want to have 100,000 people on the square, and it should be for free, and everyone should join. So that's the idea. So the city of Vienna, for some reason, had to cut the budget, and there was not a very nice discussion with them. And
this is a safe space. Don't worry.
In this situation, we were walking, and Toufic mentioned, you said, oh, you know, we also support concerts outside of the Emirates. And if we could make a cooperation, and you told us about the concert in Carnegie, and I said, What about our summer nights concert? Maybe is there any opportunity for you to support us? And you said yes. And I mean, that was, you know, sometimes the angel has to come at the right time. And I'm sure, because we never forget if somebody is good to us. So this relationship from our side will go forever.
Even I would say, when I brought the project to Her Excellency, and Her Excellency, so she told me, yes, we will go for it now. I told her, this is not of our plan. I told Her Excellency, this is not of our plan this year. We should do it. So.
I guess music really belongs to the people, and that's really the essential. If you have to get it, and you have to fight for it, and it's a continuous battle in a way, right? This is a great opportunity to talk about optimism, right? Yamen, what gives you optimism for the future of cultural exchanges within music and in the broader sense? Optimism. Like, what keeps you optimistic within the future of cultural exchanges? Sorry, I saved a tough question.
I think for me, for instance, that we're sitting here today and, we're speaking about this collaboration is already, this already gives me optimism for the future. This is quite a very, I would say, great step in what you said. How do you call it? Cultural diplomacy?
Yes.
Yes.
That's the buzzword of today.
So I think that's, that's already, that's something that surely gives me optimism. And yeah.
Very well. Michael, how do you think orchestras will evolve as cultural ambassadors and also generally over the next 20 years?
Yeah, interesting question. I mean, for us, touring gets more and more important. Also, to be honest, in economic terms. When I joined the orchestra, recordings were very important, and we had a lot of recording sessions in the 90s. Now, be honest, who bought a CD in the last, let me say, half year? Is there anybody? No? So you see the answer. So the recording business is gone, and we have to play concerts just to make an economic calculation. And touring is a very important part of that. But beyond that, also for artistic reasons, interesting enough, my theory is that we play the best concerts in our season, please agree or disagree, on tours. Why? When, for example, when we play in Carnegie Hall in New York, we know that all the other major orchestras will also play there in this season, and there's a competition. We want to show this is like our football team now is playing also in America. They want to show the Austrian teams the greatest. We will see if today they have. There is, I'm here in the wrong place. They won against.
There's someone watching it in the back.
But we also want to be the best. So this is important. How it develops in 20 years, this is nobody knows, to be honest.
We'll have to wait and see.
Probably yes.
Yeah. Toufic, how do you measure the success of cultural diplomacy, of these efforts, these collaborations? I won't say soft power, but is it audience numbers? Is it ticket sales? Or is it international visibility or something less tangible? Perhaps it's just the feeling of bringing the music to the people when you know they deserve to hear it.
Metrics are important. In our work, even in artistic direction, in programming, metrics are important, surely, because it shows how audience numbers has been to the concert, how much press release has been around to let people know about the concert. They are important also for us to get maybe to present budget for ministries, it's everywhere. You should show numbers. But the thing that is the heart of all this thing that is given by music and by performance cannot be shown in these numbers. The thing that you have audience that are reacting to music, and this music is doing transformation in their heart, and maybe they are going out of the concert with new mindset, with new this cannot be shown in Matrix. For that, I spoke this transformation that is done through the stage and the audience that gives the orchestra and the musicians to people cannot be shown in Matrix. And the real thing that the real Matrix for me is relationship. That is through stage and public, because if public is not really with the stage, with the orchestra, with the conductor, with the musician, with the soloist, there is no connection, there is no feeling, there is no relationship, there is no transformation. When I go after 9 of Beethoven, that I feel all maybe all the text about fraternity, about living together, about changing, about music. It's a big transformation. That metrics now are important just for organization, but not for really for.
It's not the gold dust.
2 meters music.
Yeah, you still need the gold dust in order to get by. I'm kind of being like waved away, but I have one more question before we open up for discussion to the audience. For each of you, and we'll start with you, Yamen, is there a single piece of music? What work would you choose to introduce your culture, perhaps yourself, your personal story, to someone hearing it for the very first time?
I thought that question was not going to go to me. I thought it was to him. Yeah, you got me a little bit off guard, I must say. A piece that, what was it again?
A piece of music that you feel inspired by that tells a little bit about you.
Don't
say Britney Spears.
No. Let me think about it. Piece of music.
You're buying everyone else time, so it's all good.
Maybe they could answer it until I think of it.
Toufic, would you like to share?
I would say I will not be very. This is not a romantic or answer to escape from the question, but for me as a conductor, silence was the best music.
Well, look at this answer.
I would say the silence. Why?
That's like get out of jail free
No.
card.
I would say why. I would say why. When you enter just to perform, these 5 seconds before starting the downbeat to the conductor or the orchestra or the musician, these are transformative seconds for the musician, because you cannot know what will happen during this voyage and how people will react. The silence in audience in different part of the world, it's not the same. Every part has its own reflection and its own expectation, because people are expecting from this musician thing in Vienna or in Japan or in Lebanon or in Abu Dhabi, in everywhere of the world. This silence is really different, and the expectations are really different. For that, these moments are the best moments that when you read it after, you see a long transformation that the musician. For that, I say these moments of silence are the best music for me, with all the best music that
exists.
It's written in the history.
Michael, do you have anything you want to add, or shall we stay to silence?
No, I have a piece. But you will be surprised, it's not an orchestra piece, it's a chamber music piece, because I love chamber music also to play. It would be Schubert, the string quintet with the 2 celli, but in the version with the bass, because I play the second cello.
Wonderful.
I mean, I gave it a thought. I'm going to answer a different question. Now, there was a piece that I used to listen quite a lot to. And funny enough, a specific recording was Mahler 6, with Bernstein conducting and Vienna Philharmonic. But I used to listen to that piece so much before even thinking about auditioning to the orchestra. And there, yeah, I had such a special connection to that piece, and I somehow remember on the day of my audition. So there's a last round where you play with the orchestra, and you need to lead the orchestra, and you sit in the Musikverein. And then, you know, I was just looking at everything right before going on stage. I thought getting to lead the Vienna Philharmonic, and then I remembered this connection to that piece, and I thought, I feel no pressure now because it's once in a lifetime experience.
You manifested really well.
And so that was somehow through that connection with that piece. There's a video, you can even see it. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to give Yamen the stage, and he is going to play us a final note before we open for a Q&A. Thank you, Yamen.
Just gonna go one step down because this is a little too. So no, sorry about that. I'll just play. I'll say it without microphone. I think everyone can hear me. I'll just play a 3 to 4 minute piece. It's one of the arrangements that I spoke about earlier. I think it makes perfect sense to play today. So.
Thank you so much, Yamen, for that beautiful. Tonight we've spoken about diplomacy, institutions, and international relations. But at the heart of all of those conversations is something much simpler. And as Toufic has coined it quite well, it's human connection. Music reminds us that before people share policies, they share stories together. Before they build alliances, they build understanding. And often they speak the same language and they share the same music. We've spent the last 45 minutes discussing how music builds bridges, and I think now is the perfect opportunity to hear from you all, the people on the other side of those bridges. So I'd like to open the floor for some questions. If you can make sure they're questions and not just statements, just end it with a question mark so we can find an answer somewhere. We have a microphone going around, so the floor is yours. As long as it ends with a question mark, it's fine.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. Michael, just sharing a little story, like the story you mentioned. When I first started ADMAF, before the festival ADMAF was born, and it was just to bring the music appreciation, to connect with the people, tell the story of music through small concertos and talks, history. And when I first started, I would be there with my speaker and musician, and no one is there. 30 years ago. And maybe in the end, in a little hall, we will be like 5 people. And I would have some friends coming in to tease me and saying, Huda, look, it's empty, ma fi dumari. No one is here. And I said, it's okay, we're 5. We're going to come together and we're going to move and we're going to enjoy the evening. And this is how I started, at home, in my backyard, small concertos. And from this, we built up a public, and Abu Dhabi Festival came later when I met with Sheikh Abdullah. And I told him I would like to establish the Abu Dhabi Festival for the music and for everything you spoke, we are talking about. And I remember he's telling me, Huda, are you ready? I said, of course. I had no penny, 0. I had to bring my funds in. I was driven by passion, and I don't know, that's dangerous, do not do it. But I knew I can make it, I'm in my heart. So funds came in, everything came in, and Abu Dhabi Festival today have thousands of audiences in Abu Dhabi and abroad. One more thing, Michael, I would like to share as well with you. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was questioned by certain people why you are abroad. What's the value of Abu Dhabi Art at Embassies? What's the value of being with the Vienna Philharmonic? You should stop. Enough. Abu Dhabi is enough. And I said, no, I'm not stopping. And I will keep on going. And that's your opinion, I respect it. I'm not taking from your fund. I'm taking from the private sector fund, and they agree for me to move forward. And they told me, why you don't want to stop? Give us one reason. There is no Emirati artist with the Vienna Philharmonic. I said, yes. In this one, there is no Emirati artist. There's Emirati artist somewhere else. But there is one thing. We do it for humanity. We do it for us all. Vienna Philharmonic stopped performing in the summer nights. That's a loss for us all. And we keep it together. And when we do co-production abroad, this co-production are for humanity. It's for Yamen Saadi to come and study it. It's for our children in the Emirates to come and see it. And then we can come home and back. But you don't stop. You don't stop. Just wanted to share this with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Excellency. You mentioned a beautiful word that was passion. And passion and heart is maybe very important for to understand what is going on in a concert. And I see it by myself. In my position now, I sometimes have to go to join a concert because I want to see a conductor or a soloist or maybe even an orchestra. And this is not, you know, the perfection is one thing. I don't care about perfection. For me, a concert is valuable when I go out and I'm happy and I'm somehow touched. This is what we want to give to the people. And you see the difference when there's an audience. We talked about different audiences around the world. When we play in other parts of the world and at the end of the concert we play a Viennese waltz as an encore, if it's in New York or in Tokyo or in Shanghai or in Abu Dhabi, and you always see the reactions, people are smiling, and you see they are touched, they are happy, they remind, I saw the New Year's concert in TV and now they are playing it for us, and you give something what they never forget. And this is not about money or about perfection or whatever, it's just you give something very valuable and with passion from your heart to another heart. And this.
But to make someone happy, how can you put a value on that? It's beyond measurement. So thank you.
Right. No. Thank you for your support. Thank you.
Do we have time for any other questions? Anyone? I've got one.
There's one.
We've got one. Yeah, lovely.
Thank you very much. My name is Martin Eichtinger. I'm the director of the Diplomatic Academy here in Vienna. And my question would be to all three of you, is the West Eastern Divan Orchestra a model that should be copied so many more times in the world and in all the conflict and crisis situations?
This is a great question. You know, I joined the orchestra since I'm 11, and yeah, been there basically more than half of my life, so much more. But anyway, you know, through that orchestra, I mean, you know, for me, that's when I mentioned in the beginning that I met people that I should have not maybe met and was not even able to meet. So that was one thing. During the time when I was there, you know, there was also all these discussions where you could really hear two sides saying what they really think and two sides really listening to each other, disagreeing strongly sometimes even, but nevertheless listening to each other. Now, would it make global peace? No. This, I mean, you know, it's obvious that this will never bring peace. Is it? What does it really show? It just shows a model where it could be possible. Yeah. However, depends how it's done. That's because you asked if it should be copied, and you know, this was done by Daniel Barenboim, in my opinion, a genius. And in these discussions, you know, when they really got heated, he always knew what to say and the right thing. And something that he would really find a way to make everyone think for a second and say, well, yeah, he's right. And it's not about him being right, but it's about managing, you know, navigating the dialogue. And in my opinion, it's a definitely successful model, yes, but it should be copied or not with caution. I think it really depends who's doing it and how and what is the agenda behind it. Because this is really something I'm noticing. It's becoming a business model, you know. It's sometimes becoming a way to promote orchestras. You know, though this orchestra is, you know, peace orchestra, but has nothing to do with it. And that's, yeah, something that I'm strongly against, you know, because, yeah, for obvious reasons. Yeah.
Thank you. I think that we can end on that high. I think it's a good place to wrap up. And I think that the more continued dialogue is perhaps the way to finding some kind of commonality. So thank you all for being here today. Thank you to the UAE Embassy in Austria. Thank you to Abu Dhabi Music and Arts Foundation and Abu Dhabi Festival. And of course, thank you to my fantastic panelists. Thank you, Yamen and Michael and Maestro Toufic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you for the good.